The message came on a quiet morning. Admiral Taesung was drinking his coffee in his office on the orbital station above Earth when his communication screen lit up with red warnings. He put down his cup and read the message 3 times before he believed it. The Galactic Council wanted to see humanity's representative. They were not asking. They were demanding for 300 years. Humanity had lived under the shadow of the elder races. These were beings who had traveled between stars. When humans still lived in caves and hunted with stone tools, they had built empires across thousands of worlds. They had created technologies that seemed like magic, and they had rules that every younger race had to follow. When human ships first left their solar system, they met the Celestine scouts near a small red star. The aliens were tall, with skin like polished silver and eyes that held 1,000 years of memories. They looked at the small human vessel and laughed. Not out loud, but Taesung had read the old reports. The contempt was clear in every word they spoke. "You are young," the Celestine had said. "You are weak, but we are not cruel. We will give you space to live. Be grateful, be quiet. Do not cause trouble." Humanity was given a small corner of the galaxy 40 star systems in a region nobody wanted. The soil on most planets was poor. The stars were dim. But humans took what they were given and said, "Thank you." That was 300 years ago now. Taesung looked at the message again. The council accused humanity of crimes. They said humans had moved into territories they were not allowed to enter. They said humans had built weapons that broke galactic law. They said humans had refused to pay tribute, the yearly gift of resources that all younger races gave to their betters. The admiral pressed a button on his desk. "Get me Director Yuna," he said. Yuna was 52 years old. Her hair was gray at the edges, and her face showed the lines of a life spent solving impossible problems. She had stopped wars between human colonies. She had negotiated trade deals that saved millions from hunger. She was calm when others panicked. She thought clearly when others lost their minds to fear. She arrived at Taesung's office within the hour. The admiral handed her a tablet with the council's message. She read it slowly, her face showing nothing. "They want a representative," she said. "They want someone to kneel," Taesung replied. "They want us to apologize and accept punishment." "What kind of punishment?" The admiral pulled up another screen. "Surrender our fleet. Destroy our weapons. Return to our original 40 systems. Accept Celestine oversight for 1,000 years. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly in the darkness, blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. 8 billion people lived down there, living their lives, raising their children, dreaming their dreams. They did not know that their future was being decided in this small office. "And if we refuse?" Yuna asked. "They will declare what they call a fight, a limited military action. They will send ships to force us to obey. They have done this many times before. No race has ever survived saying no." Yuna nodded slowly. She walked to the window and looked down at Earth. "How long do we have?" 30 days to appear before them. If we do not show, they will assume we are in rebellion and attack immediately. Then I will go." Taesung had expected this answer. Yuna never ran from hard things. But what he said next made her turn around in surprise. "There is something you need to know," he said. "Something that only a few people on Earth know. Something we have kept secret for a very long time." He stood up and walked to a safe built into the wall. He pressed his hand against the scanner, and the heavy door swung open. Inside was a single folder-reel paper, the old kind that could not be hacked or traced. "Read this tonight," he said, handing it to her. "Memorize it, then burn it." Yuna took the folder. It was heavier than she expected. "What is this?" "Hope," Taesung said. "Or maybe revenge. I am not sure which." That night, Yuna sat alone in her apartment and opened the folder. What she read made her hands shake. She read it again and again. By morning, she had memorized every word, every number, every name. She burned the papers as the sun rose over the city. The ashes floated away in the wind, carrying secrets that would change the galaxy forever. 1 week later, she boarded the diplomatic ship called Perseverance. It was a small vessel, fast but not powerful. It had no weapons, as was required by galactic law for diplomatic missions. The crew was only 20 people, all volunteers who knew they might not come back. Admiral Taysoon came to see her off. They stood in the hangar bay, surrounded by the hum of engines and the smell of fuel. "Do you understand what you need to do?" he asked. "Yes. Are you afraid?" Yuna thought about the question. "No," she said finally. "I was afraid when I read those papers. But now I am only angry. They treated us like insects for 300 years. They laughed at us. They took our resources and gave us scraps. And the whole time, they never once thought we might be dangerous." Taesung smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had waited his whole life for something and finally saw it coming. "My grandfather helped build the first hidden shipyard," he said. "He died before he could see a single ship finished. My father built 20 more yards. He died too. I have spent my entire career preparing for a day I was never sure would come." He reached into his coat and pulled out a sealed envelope. "Open this only if negotiations fail," he said. "Only if they push us to the edge. Only if there is no other way." Yuna took the envelope. "What if I can find a peaceful solution? What if they are willing to listen?" The Admiral's smile faded. "They will not listen. They have never listened to anyone smaller than them. That is why we prepared. That is why generations of humans have worked in secret. We did not want this fight, but we always knew it would come." Yuna put the envelope in her inner pocket, close to her heart. She walked up the ramp and into the ship. The doors closed behind her as the Perseverance lifted off and flew toward the stars. Yuna looked back at Earth one last time. She thought about all the people down there, the children, the families. The dreamers and workers and ordinary souls who trusted their leaders to keep them safe. She would not fail them. Whatever happened in that alien council chamber, she would not bow. She would not kneel. She would show them what humanity was made of. The stars waited ahead, cold and ancient. But Yuna felt warm. For the first time in her life, she understood what it meant to carry the hope of an entire species on her shoulders. And somewhere in her heart, she smiled. The journey to Nexus Prime took 18 days. Yuna spent most of that time alone in her small cabin, thinking and preparing. She ate simple meals. She exercised every morning. She slept exactly 7 hours each night. She needed her mind sharp and her body strong for what was coming. The crew of the Perseverance was quiet. They were young, most of them men and women in their 20s and 30s, who had volunteered for a mission that might end in their deaths. Yuna learned their names and their stories. There was Pilot Kung, whose parents had been miners on Mars. There was Engineer Bora, who had grown up on a colony ship that never stopped moving. There was Dr. Nam, who had given up a peaceful life on Earth to serve on the frontier. Each of them knew the danger. None of them complained. On the 19th day, the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel and entered the Nexus system. Yuna stood on the bridge and looked through the main window at what lay ahead. Nexus Prime was not a planet. It was a station, but that word did not do it justice. It was a ring of metal and crystal that circled an entire star. Millions of ships moved around it like tiny insects. Lights glowed across its surface in patterns that hurt the human eye to look at. It was the center of galactic civilization, the seat of the Council's power. Built over 10,000 years by races that had forgotten more technology than humanity had ever learned. "They want us to feel small," Kyung said quietly. "Yes," Yuna agreed. "But size is not everything." A voice came through the communication system, cold and formal, speaking in the common trade language that all races used, human vessel. "You will proceed to Docking Bay 774. Your representative will be escorted to the council chamber. You have 1 hour." The ship docked smoothly. When the doors opened, Yuna was met by 4 Celestine guards. They were each 8 feet tall, with armor that shifted colors in the light and weapons that hummed with energy. Their silver faces showed no emotion. "Follow," one of them said. Yuna followed. The walk to the council chamber took nearly an hour. The station was vast beyond human understanding. Yuna saw beings from dozens of racist creatures with wings and tails and too many eyes. Beings that floated in the air, entities that seemed made of pure light. All of them stopped to watch as the small human woman was led past by armed guards. Many of them laughed. Some looked at her with something like pity. None of them saw her as a threat. The council chamber was the largest room Yuna had ever seen. The ceiling disappeared into darkness far above. The walls were made of crystal that showed images of stars and galaxies. In the center of the room, a single platform floated above an endless black void. This was where the accused stood, where they begged for mercy or accepted their punishment. Above the platform, 7 thrones floated in a half-circle. Each throne held a member of the council, a representative of one of the elder races that had ruled the galaxy since before humans walked upright. High Arbiter Vorth of the Celestine Dominion sat in the center. His silver skin glowed with inner light, and his eyes held the cold wisdom of 1,000 years. To his left sat Ambassador Thex of the Remnari Collective, a being of tentacles and shifting colors. To his right was Speaker Orin of the Velthari Empire, whose massive stone body had been carved from the heart of a mountain. The other 4 council members were equally strange and equally ancient. They looked down at Yuna like giants examining an insect, Human Vorth said. His voice filled the chamber, seeming to come from everywhere at once. You stand before the Galactic Council to answer for the crimes of your species. How do you plead? Yuna stood straight. May I first know the exact nature of these crimes? You may. Vorth raised one long finger. First, you have expanded beyond your assigned territory. Our sensors have detected human colonies in 17 systems that were not given to you. Second, he raised another finger. You have developed weapons that violate the Galactic Accords. The Accords forbid younger races from building warships larger than defense class. You have built vessels of attack class. Third, you have refused tribute for the past 50 years. Every race under council protection pays tribute. You have not. He lowered his hand. These are serious crimes. The punishment is severe. But we are not without mercy. The word mercy dripped from his tongue like poison from a snake. Submit, Vorth continued. Give up your fleet. Destroy your illegal weapons. Return to your original boundaries. Accept oversight from the Celestine Dominion. Do this, and you will be allowed to continue existing. The other council members murmured their approval. This was how it always went. The young races submitted, or they were destroyed. There was no third option. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. The silence stretched across the vast chamber. The council members waited, expecting tears, expecting fear, expecting the same submission they had seen 1,000 times before. I understand, Yuna said finally, but I have questions. Vorth's eyes narrowed. Questions were not part of the usual script. Ask them. How many races have faced this council on charges like these? 47, Vorth answered. Over 12,000 years. And how many refused your offer of mercy? 12. What happened to them? Vorth's silver lips curved into something like a smile. They no longer exist. Their worlds are dust. Their names are forgotten. This is the fate of those who challenge the council. Yuna nodded slowly as if she was learning something important. So in 12,000 years, 47 races have stood where I stand now. 35 submitted. 12 refused and were destroyed. Correct? And none of them, not a single one, ever won? The council members laughed. It was a cold sound, ancient and cruel. Speaker Orin's stone body rumbled with amusement. Ambassador Vex's tentacles shook with joy. Little human, Vorth said, still chuckling. You are children playing with fire. You have existed for a blink of an eye. We have ruled this galaxy for longer than your species has had language. No one challenges us and survives. No one. Yuna listened to the laughter echo through the chamber. She felt the weight of those 12,000 years pressing down on her. She thought about all the races that had stood here before, proud peoples with their own dreams and hopes, not reduced to nothing but warnings for others. She thought about Earth, about the children, about the future that humanity might never have. Then she thought about the papers she had burned, about the secrets Admiral Taesung had shared with her, about what waited in the darkness between the stars. And slowly, very slowly, Yuna began to smile. The laughter stopped.
Oh no.
Why do you smile, human? Vorath demanded. Do you not understand your situation? Oh, I understand perfectly, Yuna said. I understand better than you can possibly imagine. She reached into her inner pocket and felt the envelope there, the sealed orders from Admiral Taesung. Her fingers touched the paper, and she made her decision. Hi, Arbiter, she said, her voice clear and strong. I have heard your offer. Now I would like to give you our answer. The council chamber fell silent. Every eye was on the small human woman standing alone on the floating platform. Yuna took a breath. The next words she spoke would change everything. Yuna pulled the envelope from her pocket. The council members watched her with eyes full of contempt. They expected tears. They expected begging. They expected the same sad submission they had seen so many times before. They did not expect what happened. Next, Yuna broke the seal and unfolded the paper inside. She read it once to herself, her lips moving slightly. Then she looked up at the 7 thrones floating above her, and she laughed. It was not a nervous laugh or a frightened laugh. It was the laugh of someone who knew a secret or wonderful, terrible secret that changed everything. The council members froze. In 12,000 years of history, no one had ever laughed in this chamber. This was a place of fear. This was a place of surrender. Laughter did not belong here, Human Vorath said, his voice sharp with anger. Have you lost your mind? Yuna's laughter slowly faded into a smile. She shook her head. No, High Arbiter. I think perhaps I am the sanest person in this room. She held up the paper in her hand. I have here the official response of the United Nations of Earth. Shall I read it? Read it, Vorath commanded. Yuna cleared her throat. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and clear, but somehow it filled the entire chamber, reaching every corner, touching every ear. To the Galactic Council, she read, We have received your accusations and your demands. We have listened to your threats. We have considered your offer of so-called mercy. She paused and looked up at the council members. We reject it all. The chamber erupted in noise. The elder race representatives shouted and roared. Ambassador Vex's tentacles turned bright red with rage. Speaker Orin's stone body cracked with the force of his anger, but Vorath raised one silver hand, and silence fell instantly. Continue, he said. His voice was ice. Yuna continued reading. We do not recognize the authority of your council. We do not accept your laws. We do not acknowledge your right to judge us. For 300 years, you have treated humanity like insects, to be ignored, to be controlled, to be crushed if we became inconvenient. Those days are over. She lowered the paper and looked directly at Vorath. You have declared what you call a fight, she said. A limited military action. A quick punishment to bring a rebellious child into line. You have rules for this fight, rules that favor you, rules that guarantee your victory while minimizing your losses. Her smile widened. Humanity does not accept your rules. We do not do fights. We do war. Total war. War without limits. War without mercy. War until one side cannot fight anymore. Vorath leaned forward on his throne. You dare threaten us? You are one species with 40 star systems. We command millions of worlds. We have 12,000 ships of war that could reduce your entire civilization to ash in a single day. 12,417 ships, Yuna corrected him, spread across 47 sectors. Your largest fleet concentration is in the Celestine Home System, 1,800 vessels. Your second largest is here at Nexus Prime, 1,400 vessels. The rest are scattered in small groups throughout your territory. The chamber went very quiet. How do you know this? Vorath asked. We have been watching, Yuna said simply. For 300 years, while you ignored us, while you laughed at us, while you treated us like harmless children, we have been watching and learning and preparing. She reached into her pocket again and pulled out a small device, communication unit no larger than her thumb. They saw a primitive species barely reaching beyond their own moon. They gave us 40 worthless star systems and told us to be grateful. What they did not see was the message hidden in that encounter. What message? Ambassador Vex asked, his voice trembling. That we were alone. That the galaxy was ruled by beings who saw us as less than nothing. That someday, if we wanted to survive, we would have to fight for our place among the stars. Una pressed a button on the device. 100 years after first contact, she continued, we began building secret shipyards in dead systems. Hidden factories on asteroids that no one visited. Training facilities in places your sensors never looked. We took your technology and made it better. We studied your weaknesses. We planned for this day. She let that sink in. While you ruled your comfortable empire, while you collected tribute from scared younger races, while you believed you were invincible, humanity was preparing. Generation after generation. Parents teaching children. Children teaching grandchildren. Everyone working toward a single goal. How many ships? Vorath demanded. His silver face had gone pale, Una told him.
Ow.
47,000. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. Possible, Speaker Orin rumbled. You cannot hide 47,000 warships. We did not hide them in one place, Una explained. We spread them across the galaxy. In the spaces between your stars, in the systems you considered worthless, in the dark places where your eyes never looked. Right now, as we speak, those ships are moving into position. She pressed another button on her device. Operation Sunrise is now active. Within the next 6 hours, human fleets will secure every major transit point in the galaxy. Your supply lines will be cut. Your communication networks will be blocked. Your great armada will find itself divided into 1,000 small pieces, unable to coordinate, unable to retreat, unable to do anything except surrender or die. Vorath stood up from his throne. His body shook with rage. You are bluffing. This is a trick. A desperate lie from a desperate species? Then let me remove all doubt, Una said. She looked at the communication device in her hand. Admiral Taysoon, are you receiving? A voice crackled through the speaker comm. Professional and very human. Receiving clearly, Envoy. Una, please confirm Operation Sunrise status. All fleets are in position. The Celestine weapon in the Valorian Nebula has been secured by Commander Day in the 7th Fleet. Nexus Prime is surrounded by 1,500 human vessels. The Celestine home system is currently being visited by 3,000 of our finest ships. Una smiled at the council. Would you like to verify? Vorath waved his hand. A massive screen appeared in the air, showing the space around Nexus Prime. What the council saw made several of them cry out in shock. Ships. Human ships. Thousands of them emerging from hiding spots behind moons and asteroids. Jumping in from nowhere, surrounding the great station, like a net closing around a fish. You see, Una said quietly, you offered us a choice between submission and destruction. We are giving you a third option. She straightened her shoulders and spoke her final words directly to Vorath. Surrender. You have 7 days. The chamber exploded into chaos. Council members screamed accusations. Guards rushed toward Una with weapons drawn. But she stood perfectly still on her floating platform, calm as a stone in the middle of a storm, because she knew something they did not. The age of the Elder Races was over. The age of humanity had just begun. Commander Hannah stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Soul and watched the universe change. She was 34 years old. Her grandmother had worked in the first secret shipyard, helping to build the frame of a vessel that would not fly until long after her death. Her mother had been a pilot, training in the hidden academies, practicing for battles she knew she might never fight. Hannah herself had been raised for this moment, traced to command a ship that officially did not exist, leading a fleet that the galaxy believed was impossible. Now, through the great viewing window of her bridge, she could see Nexus Prime in the distance. The giant station looked small from here, surrounded by the gleaming shapes of human warships. 1,500 vessels formed a perfect sphere around the heart of galactic civilization. Commander Lieutenant June reported from his station. All fleets are confirming position. Operation Sunrise is proceeding as planned. Casualties? Hannah asked. None so far. The Elder Race ships are not engaging. They seem to be in shock. Hannah nodded. She had expected this. For 12,000 years, the Elder Races had never faced a true challenge. They had grown comfortable in their power. They had forgotten what it meant to fight an enemy who was not already beaten. Open a channel to all ships, she commanded. I want to address the fleet. June pressed several buttons. Channel open, Commander. Hannah took a breath. Somewhere out there, hundreds of thousands of humans were listening. They were the children and grandchildren of dreamers, of planners, of people who had worked their entire lives for a day they would never see. This is Commander Hannah of the Eternal Soul, she said. Today, we show the galaxy who we really are. For 3 centuries, we have been silent. We have been patient. We have let them laugh at us while we prepared. That time is over, she paused, feeling the weight of the moment. But remember why we are here. We are not conquerors. We are not destroyers. We are humans. We fight hard, yes, harder than any race in this galaxy has ever seen. But we also know when to show mercy. We also know how to build instead of burn. Today we demand our place at the table. Tomorrow we will prove that we deserve it. Hold your positions. Wait for orders, and trust in each other. She ended the broadcast. Across the galaxy in hundreds of different locations, human ships held their positions. They had worked too hard and waited too long to make mistakes now. Everything depended on the next 7 days. Back on Nexus Prime, Una was escorted to a holding area. The Council had not agreed to surrender, not yet. They needed time to think, time to verify what she had told them, time to understand that their world had changed forever. Vorath visited her personally. The High Arbiter walked into the small room where she waited, his silver skin dim with exhaustion and fear. He looked older than before, as if the past few hours had aged him by centuries. How? He asked. How did you do this? Una was sitting calmly on a simple chair. She looked up at him without fear. Which part? All of it. The ships, the weapons, the planning. How did you hide this from us? Una considered the question carefully. This creature had ruled billions of lives for longer than humanity had existed. He had destroyed entire civilizations with a wave of his hand. And now he was asking her to explain how his empire had been beaten by a species he considered insects. You made 2 mistakes, she said. First, you underestimated us. You saw our short lives and thought we were weak. You did not understand that short lives mean fast generations. We change quickly. We adapt quickly. We learn from our parents and teach our children, passing down knowledge at a speed you cannot match. Vorath listened in silence. Second, you gave us a reason to prepare. When your scouts found us, they did not offer friendship. They offered scraps. They laughed at us and told us to be grateful. From that moment, we knew that the galaxy was not a place of peace. It was a place where the strong ruled and the weak served. She stood up and walked to the small window. Outside, she could see the human ships hanging in space like silent guardians. We decided to become strong. But 47,000 ships, Vorath said. The resources alone would be impossible. Where did you get the metal? The fuel? The technology? From you, Una said simply. Every year, we paid tribute. But we also traded with your merchants. We bought your technology small pieces, nothing suspicious. Then we took those pieces apart, learned how they worked, and made them better. Your engine designs were good. Ours are faster. Your weapons were powerful. Ours are stronger. That is not possible. We have been building ships for 10,000 years. You cannot surpass us in 3 centuries. Una smiled sadly. That is your problem, High Arbiter. You stopped trying. 10,000 years ago, your technology was amazing. But since then, you have barely changed. Why improve something that already wins? Why innovate when you already rule? She turned to face him directly. Humans are never satisfied. We always ask, how can this be better? We always push forward. We changed more in 300 years than you changed in 10,000. And now, you see the result. Vorath was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. What do you want? Equality, Una said. A seat on the council. The right to determine our own future. We do not want to rule you. We do not want to destroy you. We want to be partners, not servants. And if we refuse, then we fight. Real war. The kind your people have forgotten how to survive. You will lose ships, worlds, perhaps entire races. In the end, you will surrender anyway, but the cost will be terrible for everyone. She sat back down. Or you can accept our terms now. Save millions of lives. Admit that the galaxy has changed. Welcome us as equals, instead of fighting us as enemies. Vorath looked at her, this small, fragile human woman who had walked into his chamber alone and overturned 12,000 years of history. I need to speak with the council, he said finally. You have 7 days, Una reminded him. Not a moment longer. The High Arbiter left without another word. Una sat alone in the quiet room. Listening to the hum of the station around her, she thought about Earth, about her home, about all the people who had worked their entire lives to make this moment possible. She thought about her father, who had spent 50 years as an engineer in a secret shipyard, never telling anyone what he did. She thought about her mother, a teacher who raised her children with stories about the stars and what humanity would someday become. They had not lived to see this day. None of them had, but they had believed in it. They had given their lives for a future they would never know. Now it was up to Una to finish what they had started. She closed her eyes and waited. The 7 days passed slowly throughout the galaxy. Human fleets held their positions in perfect discipline. They did not fire a single shot. They did not threaten. They simply waited. Their presence a constant reminder of what would happen if the Council chose wrong. Inside Nexus Prime, the Elder races argued. Vorath had called an emergency session, and for the first time in recorded history, the Council could not agree on what to do. Some wanted to fight. Speaker Orin of the Velthari Empire demanded immediate war, his stone body trembling with rage at the insult humanity had delivered. Others wanted to run. Ambassador Thex of the Remnar Collective suggested retreating to their home systems and hoping the humans would be satisfied with what they had taken. But most of them simply could not believe what was happening. Their power, seemed eternal. Their rule had seemed unquestionable. Now a species they had dismissed as children had arrived with more ships than the combined fleets of the Elder races, and there was nothing they could do about it. On the 6th day, Vorath came to Una again. He looked different. The confidence was gone from his silver face. His shoulders were bent with a weight that had nothing to do with his body. We have decided, he said. Una stood. Her heart was beating fast, but her face showed nothing. And the Council accepts your terms. The words fell into the room like stones dropped into still water. Una took a breath. She had hoped for this outcome. She had planned for this outcome. But until this moment, she had not been certain it would happen. I understand, she said. What happens now? A formal ceremony in the council chamber. Before witnesses from all races, Vorath paused. You will be given a seat. Humanity will be recognized as the 8th member of the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities, and our ships will remain where they are until the ceremony is complete. After that, we will negotiate. There's much to discuss. Una nodded. Then let us begin. The ceremony took place the next morning. The council chamber was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Millions watched through broadcast networks that reached every corner of known space. This was history the moment everything changed. Una walked into the chamber alone, but this time she did not feel small. Behind her, visible through the great crystal windows, human ships hung in space like silent witnesses. She was not alone. She carried the hopes of billions. The 7 council members sat on their thrones, but they no longer floated high above. For this ceremony, they had lowered themselves to the same level as the platform where Una stood. Equals meeting, equals High Arbiter Voreth spoke first, his voice carrying across the vast space. For 12,000 years, this council has governed the galaxy. We have maintained order. We have preserved peace. We have guided the younger races towards civilization. He paused. And something in his face shifted, not quite acceptance, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. Today, we recognize that we were wrong. Wrong to believe that strength is measured only in years. Wrong to think that wisdom belongs only to the ancient. Wrong to dismiss a species simply because they were young and strange. Voreth stood from his throne and descended to the platform. He walked toward Una until they stood face to face, the 1,000-year-old ruler and the 52-year-old diplomat. Humanity, he said, we welcome you to the Galactic Council. Not as servants, not as children, as equals. Extended his silver hand. Una took it. The chamber erupted in sound, some cheering, some weeping, some simply watching in stunned silence. This was the end of an age and the beginning of another. Nothing would ever be the same. But the ceremony was not over. Una raised her hand, and the noise faded. She had something to say. Thank you, High Arbiter, she began. Thank you for choosing peace. I know it was not easy. She turned to face the watching crowds, the cameras, the billions of beings who were seeing this moment from distant worlds. Humanity did not come here to conquer. We came here to survive. For 300 years, we prepared for war because we believed we had no other choice. We built our ships in secret because we feared what would happen if we were discovered. We lived with the weight of knowing that someday we might have to fight for our right to exist. She paused, feeling the emotion rise in her chest. But that is not what we want. War is terrible. Destruction is terrible. We know this better than most because we have seen it in our own history. We have fought each other. We have nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. We know the cost of violence. Her voice grew stronger. What we want is partnership. We want to learn from you and teach you in return. We want to explore the galaxy together, discovering new wonders, solving problems that no single race can solve alone. We want to build a future where all species, old and young, strong and weak, can live in peace. She looked at Voreth, then at the other council members. We showed you our strength because we had to, but now we are showing you our hearts. We offer friendship. We offer cooperation. We offer the hand of a species that dreams big and works hard and never gives up. The choice is yours. We are ready for whatever comes next. The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, Voreth began to clap. The sound echoed through the vast space, joined by others, growing until it filled the chamber like thunder, far away, on Earth. People watched the broadcast in homes and offices and public squares. They cheered and cried and held each other, knowing that their children would grow up in a galaxy where humanity stood tall. Admiral Tezun watched from the bridge of the command. Ship Justice. Tears ran down his weathered face as he thought about his father and grandfather. About all the people who had given their lives for this moment. Commander Hannah stood at attention on the Eternal Soul, surrounded by her crew. When the ceremony ended, she finally allowed herself to smile. And in a small apartment on the colony ship, New Busan, a young woman named Sumin watched with her grandmother. The old woman's hands were rough from decades of factory work, building the parts that had made the human fleet possible. We did it, her grandmother whispered. Su-Min held her hand. You did it, she said. All of you. We just got to see the ending. Her grandmother smiled through her tears. No, my dear. This is not an ending. This is a beginning. Outside the window, the stars shone, bright and endless. For the first time, they belonged to humanity as much as anyone else. The galaxy had changed. A new age had begun, and somewhere in the darkness between the stars, human ships flew home, their mission complete. Their future assured, they had come as insects, left as equals. They had asked for a place at the table and received it. They were human, and they had finally truly arrived.